Well, what this engine did during pre-ignition is it managed to find a spot here which actually feels a little bit low, and the gases of combustion went past this point in here and combusted. In doing so, they pull pieces of metal off. Cavitation will do that to a water pump impeller as well. Literally, that shock will tear metal off the wall of the pump impeller, or the pump body, or in this case, the head. So we have literally a cavity in this head, which, to repair it is very, very difficult, because all of this would have to be ground out and then filled back up again. So, pardon? Aluminum. Welded up with aluminum, machine it flat. If this was the last Alpha head on the planet, yeah, we'd do that. This is not the last Alpha head on the planet, because I can buy one today for $300. So we're going to get a new Alpha head, and we're going to make this engine do its thing again.
It's a lot more expensive to pull it off, though, right?
Pardon?
It's a lot more expensive to pull it off than just buy a new one now.
Yeah.
If you had known it was damaged, you could have got it off much quicker, or cut the studs, or...
No, you really couldn't. I spent a lot of time ensuring I didn't damage anything because I didn't know. But there is, if I cut the studs, now how do I get the studs up?
Yeah.
And that's not an easy task either, because, I wasn't done with my cake.
There's cake.
Okay.
Don't worry, there's more.
All right. Anyway, so where were we? Oh yeah, the separation thing. I could have cut them off if I knew the head was bad, but then I could have spent just as much time and the possibility of damaging the block extracting the studs. So now I've gone from get the head off quick to I've got to I put thread inserts in this block so I can put studs in. So I'd rather not do that. So, and the last thing that I actually wanted to mention here and leave you with on this issue, or this thing, is that the reason galvanic corrosion, the dissimilar materials were there, but coolants have corrosion resistant chemicals in them that impede corrosion on engine blocks, be they iron, be they aluminum. And I know somebody who's working on an engine right now that an improperly maintained cooling system caused corrosion in an iron block, which exceeds even this. And that engine is being re-sleeved. Because there's cracks in the cylinder walls. It got so thin, got so hot, and Mr. Cylinder Wall went away. So, the point that we're making here with this is that this engine, the owner told me, says, I don't know when it was the last time we changed coolant. Just because you open the cap and you see stuff in there doesn't mean the stuff that's in there is doing its job. So you should be replacing your coolant every, 4 or 5 years.
At max, yeah.
What happens
Especially on
is
these cars.
the coolant breaks down. So you lose the ability to inhibit corrosion. Glycol will actually become gelatinous. So you end up with plugs of glycol in your system, and it's not moving. And you have to actually flush it out. And sometimes it can take hours to do a good flush.
We've seen globs come out of radiators and blocks, and boop, what was that? Oh.
So that little tiny path ultimately was letting combustion pressure out of the cylinder during when it was actually running.
Yes.
And also the coolant was coming into the cylinder.
Well, that may have been coming in there. It may have been coming in over here. We don't know for certain because it's a super thin thing here. And then this one does not look good either. But we never really checked this one. We didn't hear it hiss like this one. Yeah, the engine was on its way out. It's been a while. This engine's been on its way out for a while, the head. But we're able to get a head of the correct, I could go spend another hour on this, but I won't. You have to have the right size combustion chamber so that you get effective compression ratios. There's all these different versions of this engine because they made it from the mid 1950s up to like 2008.
Jesus.
You know, so this engine was around for a while. It might have been old. Maybe it ended at.
Did you buy a rebuilt one?
Well, we're actually having one rebuilt, and the one that's being rebuilt will be a performance rebuild because the client asked for larger valves, and they can put in 1 millimeter larger valves. So we'll put those in. So it'll end up with new valve guides, new valves, larger valves, and the seats will be recut in a multi-angle valve job. The more angles you have in a valve job, a factory job may just be one angle. And then sometimes they'll do 2 angles where they'll actually taper it a little bit going to the valve. A competition engine typically will run a 3-angle valve job, but there's also 5-angle and 7-angle valve jobs. The more angles that you put in, the smoother the flow between the valve and the seat, and the more performance, the more that you're processing, the more power you're going to make.
Could you
But-
tell me what the angle? I don't understand the angles.
What do you mean?
I mean, I know what an angle is, but how does the
Okay.
how would they do?
Seat against
This is roughly we'll call this a 45-degree angle valve. The valve itself has an angle on it. I have to go get one.
Is there one laying over
I'll
here?
get one. I'll go get one. Yeah, so the valve has an angle on it, and it's typically roughly 45 degrees.
I know it's there. I'll feel it. I walk by Braille.
Why not, I mean, theoretically, infinitely just machine it round instead of one face
It's
or 2 faces?
gotta
or
have
4 faces.
a little bit to seat, but you're onto something there, Grant.
Yeah.
To an extent, yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought I knew where they were, and I forgot. Well, I am 62, so I'm allowed that. The valve is typically
Hold on.
ground at a
Paul
45
knows.
degree. You know, no, I don't think they're over there, are they?
Miss Randy's room.
That's where I was going to do it. I was going to grab one of those valves. They may still be in the head. I thought we took them out. No, they're probably in a box up on a shelf.
It's fine.
Anyway, so the valve is ground on a 45-degree angle. So as the valve opens up, the air flows fairly smoothly against that, that 40, and it's a fairly wide angle, fairly wide. So then when you get to the seat is machined also at a roughly 45-degree angle. There's actually 1 degree in there to create a knife edge, but we'll not quibble that detail. So the seat is at a 45-degree angle roughly, and it's very narrow. It's typically only about 60 to 80 thousandths wide, and it can be just cut right out of the base material itself, or valve seats can be put in, and you end up with sharp edges that the air has to flow over, and it becomes turbulent, and it reduces the efficiency of the head. By adding those angles, what it does is it gives the air a smoother transitory flow. When the valve is up just a little bit, the air can slide through. Both, intake would be this way, and exhaust, of course, down this way. And it just makes for a better flowing head. So when heads get redone, at a minimum, a 3-angle valve job will add power. Yes?
No.
Oh, you must. Oh, yes, mowers. Never mind. All right. We were going to talk about transmissions.
Let's do it.
We were going to do transmissions tonight. Oh, plenty of time.